Evening BookTube, this is Jack from Jack's Reading Corner, and I'm going to update you guys on how my reading is going. But first, I had family come into town last night. They just stayed the night, because they have someone they're gonna visit, also here in North Carolina, but it's another county or another part of North Carolina. So they were just passing through. I don't know if they're gonna come back through, but my cousin wanted to stop by Walmart, pick up a few things, and he asked, asked if I wanted to go, so I decided to go. So I agreed to go with him, and it turns out we're both huge fans of Stephen King, although he reads it faster than I do, so he's probably read more Stephen King books than I have. But I saw this. It's a collection of his movies, of the movies based on books by Stephen King. And although I kind of feel bad for the people who create these movies, but although I think I don't know if for these movies Stephen King how much he was involved in these, but I feel bad for the other people who work on the directors and producers. Not that they're not acknowledged, of course, but these are known by Stephen King. Granted, he might have been the director or producer or whatever on these particular sorry, I was reading the back of one of the ones I'm not as familiar with. But it was between this one and another collection. But that one, it had a lot of the ones based on that. A lot of the stories with the haunted motor vehicles, I can't remember what that one. I knew it earlier because I tried to film this earlier. Maximum Overdrive, that's what it's called. And I wasn't actually sure if I would be interested in those because as much as I would love to say that Stephen King is an author for me, some of his books, I don't know if I will read them. I mean, especially the ones that are about haunted cars and stuff like that. But I ended up because I also spotted something else I wanted to get, and he was like, "Okay, how about I get you the DVD and you can get that thing, but you have to pick one of them." So I ended up picking this one because this had more that I figured I would be more interested. This has Apt Pupil, that's the only one I'm not familiar with. Bag of Bones, the movie version starring Pierce Brosnan. I don't know if that's had any other versions. Christine, so there's one one in there. Secret Window, which I have that one as a separate DVD. Sleepwalkers, and Stand By Me. Now, some of these I've seen bits and pieces of them. Apt People I am not familiar with in any capacity. But Bag of Bones, of course, it's about a writer. Most of his books have, even if the writer is not the main character, I think there's actually I think most of the time the writer is the main character in a lot of his novels. And the guy, his wife just died, so the first time in years he's going back to their summer cottage, and he encounters this mother and daughter, and the woman's father-in-law, I think, owns the town, I believe, and she's in this horrible abusive marriage or something like that. I mean, don't go by, that's just vaguely what I remember. I don't know if it was an abusive marriage or not. I think Christine is the one about one of the ones about the haunted car. Secret Window is a writer. His wife, he just caught his wife cheating and they're getting a divorce. So he kind of goes to a cabin in the mountains to stay, to work on his novel. And someone visit this Mississippi guy shows up at his place and is like, "You stole my story," and he's like, and the guy's saying, the main guy is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I did not steal your damn story. And then, of course, it does look like he did. But because he won't confess to doing it, the Mississippi guy starts terrorizing him. He kills in the movie, he kills his pet, I think, his, like, cat. But I think in the book he owns a dog. But I think in the movie it's a cat. And he starts terrorizing, and there's a suspicious fire that at his wife's, at his ex-wife's house, and then, like, the guy's like, alright, I'll leave you alone if you rewrite the ending, because you know my ending is not very good. You can write a better one. So, and it's about him trying to deal with that and trying to get rid of this guy and everything. And then, Sleepwalkers is about this mother and son that are, like, they're kind of like a cross. The way I explained it to my parents just now was a cross between vampires and shapeshifters. And they will basically suck your life essence out of you, and that's how they survive. But they have to get it from a virgin. And it's about the son trying to get this one girl, and he does start to like her, which causes some problems. Although, as I'm about, when I responded to my friend's text, we were talking about this one via text, and she was saying, oh, well, he felt a little bit bad, and I'm like, he's still, don't make excuses. I mean, he's still a monster. He's gonna suck the life out of her. He still sucked the life out of her. It's not just his mom, it's not just the mom controlling him. He makes his own choices. That's, of course, I haven't read the book, so I don't know. I'm just going by the movie here. So if any of you can correct me, or if you don't want to spoil it for me. But I mean, I've already seen the movie, so I know what's going to happen in the end. I don't know if the ending is different than the book. But, and then, of course, Stand By Me is about a group of friends. This guy is reminiscing back to his childhood when he's, like, I think they're, like, 13. And him and his best friends discover a dead body. Something like, that's all I know. So he got this for me, which was I really appreciate it. It's totally awesome that he did. And then later, he wanted to go to Sonic, so I was like, I took him up on the opportunity, got one of their, not milk, I don't know, milkshake or smoothies, or I don't remember what ones they are, those Sonic milkshakes that, like, they have banana, strawberry, chocolate, mint, all those different, it's like eating ice cream, but anyway, so I got that too. But then, so the other thing that he was like, okay, I'll get you the DVD and you can get that, is this. I got the most recent, the 2017/2019 version of Pennywise, and it was either between this one or there was one where he was just kind of smiling, and then one where he was sticking on his tongue, which you see in the preview for the chapter for part 2. But he suggested I pick this one because I couldn't decide, because it has I Love Dairy balloon. So I got that. Okay, so now I have both versions. Although this other version is kind of plain. It's not as cool. But I do think there are other versions of this one. I'm guessing. Oh, why are you misbehaving? Sometimes I'm not crazy, I just like to pretend. But anyway, so that's the one. So that's non-book related that I want to draw your attention to. So I want to participate in this month. Well, first I was going to participate. I already said in my last video I was going to participate in Classics-a-thon, but really I have not even participated in that one. Not much. I mean, I did continue with Bleak House that first week, but then I haven't read any of that since. And even though it's a mass market paperback, so I can easily put in my lunch bag and take it to work. again, I only have a 15-minute break, so that's not enough. So the only other classic I am actually reading is I finally started reading And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is one of hers that's not like, it's not about Perot or what is her name? What's the other one? I can't think of her. The elderly spinster lady who's also kind of like an amateur detective. I can't remember her name. It will pop into my head, but this is one of her standalones. And so far I've started with that, where I've bought, although except for the murder of Roger Ackroyd, that actually I think is part of the collection of that one woman detective, Miss, I can't think of her name. It's like at the tip of my tongue, but it won't come out. I think that the murder of Roger Ackroyd is part of that collection. So that's the only one. The rest of them are all standalones, I believe. I don't know about N or M. I finally started reading this one. This is one, if you're not familiar, I'm sure most people are, but in the literary world. But this is her mystery about where these group of people, these socialites, are sent messages to come to this place called Indian Island, and this was written back in the 1920s. So, and they are accused by some mysterious disembodied voice that they murdered these people, or at least are responsible for their death, and each one of them is slowly killed off. And the only evidence they got is the disembodied voice. There's no one else there. It's an isolated circle mystery. And there's a poem that was left for them called 10 Little Indians. And it kind of explains how each of these people are going to die. And they basically have to figure out who, before any more of them die, they have to figure out who's the one that keeps murdering these people. Or if maybe they're and so far I'm liking it. It's a fun little mystery. It's a little creepy. And it's a very quick read. It does not take that long to read it, unless you're just bored with it. Then it might take a while to read it. But I'm not bored. I'm enjoying it. And I was like, I like that kind of writing, the writing of a lot of classics, like Dickens. In her writing, it's just like with Dickens, it's so long and there's so many details. Although when I say that, I keep feeling like, are people gonna say, then why don't you like Tolkien? And I'm wondering what I actually. I mean, it's too late because I've already given away those books to Terry. But if I can get through Dickens, then maybe I could have read The Fellowship of the Ring. But it's just, my concern is always the same thing, that is it, because I've seen the movie now, so it just kind of ruins the appeal of reading the book. Even though, yes, I know that in the book there are a lot of things that couldn't be in the movie. Like, there's a character that a lot of people love, Tom Bombadil, that could not be in the movie because he wouldn't translate well in the movies. There's like a lot of things. I know that. I am well aware that there are a lot of things in the Lord of the Rings books that couldn't be in the movie. And there are other differences as well. But I'm sorry, I just keep thinking, I know the story, I know the basic story, so it's like subconsciously I'm thinking I don't need to read the book. And then every time I attempt to read the book, it's just I don't have a desire to read it. And because, but again, I've said that, I know I've said this before, that on my Amazon wishlist I have the audiobook. I don't know if I'll ever get it, and I'm not pushing it either, but so far quite a few people have been murdered, and they're trying to figure out, and they're slowly piecing together, and, and all these people are like, those are false accusations, how, those are so wrong, and not, although some of them haven't been well, they're not entirely wrong. And I do have a theory about who is really, because unless there's someone in hiding, I'm going with the theory of that one of them is the murderer, um, and I have a theory which one of them will be. I could be totally wrong, and I couldn't give any evidence to give me the reason why, except for like the character's personality and the way they act and stuff. That makes me think, oh, I bet that's gonna be the killer. That's gonna be the murderer. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Could be totally off there. You know. But anyway, so, and obviously you can see, I don't have much more to read. I mean, I have a good chunk left, but not a lot. And what I've been doing, I've been taking it with me to work when I do go in, and then I'll read, and I can only get a little bit, maybe a couple pages read while I'm taking my break. But then I make sure when I come home to read at least a couple chapters. And so I'm reading that, and I finally also started reading this one. This is my sister's book that she let me borrow her years ago, and I never gave it back to her because I had not read it yet. And I still wanted to read it. The Kitchen God's Wife by Amy Tan. She wrote The Joy Luck Club, which I read that one. Although I think, again, it was another situation where I'm like, that book was easier to read because it's modern. It's a modern book. But the movies, having seen the movies, I know the exact story. I mean, it's even worse because almost everything I think that was in the book is in the movie. Not everything, not every little detail, because that would kind of ruin it for everybody, but for me, because I'd seen the movie, so I know the basic plot before having read the book, so it's like that's why I gave the book, I think I gave it 3 stars, because it's like, yeah, it's okay, it was good, but I mean, it's like not wow for me, it was nothing, it was not a new experience for me. It was more like I was reading it because, okay, I wanted to read it years ago, my sister gave me her copy, and I still have to get it back to her. So, finally started reading this one. This is basically a mother and daughter who don't understand each other, don't really get each other. Their relationship is a little dysfunctional and awkward, and they kind of are butting heads. But very discreetly, like quietly. It's funny, like they have an almost passive-aggressive kind of relationship, and her auntie, that's in Asian cultures, as a sign of respect, you refer to people that, even if they're not your aunt or uncle, or like if they're your cousin, even your older cousin who's an adult and you're a kid, or they're really good friends but they're like family, out of respect, you call them auntie or uncle. And so her auntie Helen tells her, kind of like implies that mother and daughter need to talk, because both mother and daughter have secrets to tell each other. Like, the daughter has some kind of disease or something. I don't remember what it is. I mean, it's not like not like cancer or anything like that. But something that will affect her in the long term. And she's trying not to, she still hasn't told her mom because she doesn't want her mom to forget, because it's not like she's dying. She's not on her deathbed. It's not so serious that her mom needs to freak out. And she's very not sure if she wants to tell her mom, because her auntie Helen's like, you need to tell your mom. But then when you find out, of course, that, and this is implied in the back description, that the mother also has her own secrets. And Helen is like, you need to tell your daughter this. And that's what Amy Tan, I think, writes. She writes about mother and daughter relationships, which I'm guessing she draws from real life experiences. I think she probably has that kind of relationship with her mom. And of course she writes about China. She's one of those what's the word? I can't think of the word. Like, when you're an author and you're writing about something that you have experienced. Like, you are, like, if you're writing about a blind person, you're blind, or if you're Asian or black, you write about that experience from your own. So, but I can't think of the term. Own voices, that's what it is. It's an own voices. I think it would be considered own voices. And I like it. I really like it. And they're fun reads. Quick. I mean, not as quick as And Then There Were None, but still, it's not taking me that long to progress through it. Although, I still have a long way to go. I mean, I have not read a lot, but anyway. It's like one of these books where there aren't, it's another situation where, like, there aren't that many chapters, but the individual chapters are really long. That just drives me crazy. I mean, I'll still read the book. I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't want to read this. The chapters are too long. I'll still read it, but it gets frustrating because, especially if it's not, like, a super exciting book where, not the most thrilling book, like, it's more of a slice of life story, then I might start flipping through and seeing how much longer for the chapter to end. Or for some reason, as much as I love reading, again, I am one of those people who apparently can't sit still for too long because I get restless or I want to watch TV or something, which I know I shouldn't prioritize TV or the internet, but I will admit I do that. I watch, which I'm trying to change that, though. I'm still trying to change that, and I've definitely improved since then. But anyway, so far, like I said, it's really good. It's very interesting. Like I said, it's very much a slice of life story. I think really people that would like this are people who want to read about mother-daughter relationships, and people who are interested in the Asian culture. I think would like this book. So those are. And then I read a little more of Pet Sematary. So, I started when I was thinking about the fact that I hadn't finished any Stephen King books back in like June, July. I was like, okay, I need to read a Stephen King that I can finish quickly. And I know I could have read some of his short stories because I have quite a few of those books now. But I went to get at least one of his novels read, so I decided to read Misery, which I did a review on that back in July. And then I decided to pick this one. This one I got for my birthday, I want to say. I don't know if I bought it or got it for my birthday. I think it might have been from my sister for a birthday gift. Same with Misery, except not for birthday, for Christmas. I mean, my sister got both these Stephen King books for me. But the movie's coming, and so the movie for this one, the new movie just came out, the remake, and it's definitely longer than Misery, which I picked that one so I can get that finally finish reading this, to finally read a Stephen King book that I can actually finish. But still, it's not the longest, so I decided to go ahead and read it. And so far, we've been introduced to the main characters, the Creed family. Lewis is the family patriarch, and he is a doctor, so he operates his family to a town in Maine, of course. Most of Stephen King's books take place in Maine, a small town in Maine. And he gets a job as I can't remember the title, but a doctor at a college. And he has moved his family, his wife's baby son, his little boy, a baby, and his daughter, who's like 8-10 years old, to a house where they are living on a highway where a lot of fast cars drive by, so a lot of pets get run over. And their neighbor from across the street, an elderly couple, tells them about the pet cemetery in their backyard where a lot of kids bury their pets. And which is why it's spelled like this, because it's kids and they misspelled it. They spelled it with an S instead of a C. And Beyond that cemetery, there may be another cemetery. And he is told, and from what I remember, this is only from my knowledge of the book, is that it turns out it's an Indian burial ground, I believe. So I kind of have some idea of what's going to happen in the book, but again, I've never read it. And so far, I've gotten to the point where the neighbor across the street told them about the cemetery, he's taken them there, and it really affects his daughter, his little girl. He said she's like 10 years old, and she's a pet cat, and she's like, this really upsets her, and she does not want her cat to die. She does not want him to be buried in the pet cemetery, and because the fact that she's like, God does not need this is my pet, this is my cat. God does not need my cat. And Lewis tries to explain to her that it just happens. People don't live forever. Animals don't live forever. Especially animals. They die sooner than we do. And his wife also is very upset because she had lost her sister at a very young age. So she's like, even though he's trying to remind her that death is natural. It happens to everybody. I mean, and yes, I do believe there are unnatural deaths. This is not what he said, this is what I'm thinking. There are unnatural deaths as well. There's like dying of a disease, like dying too soon, getting hit by a car or something. But he's someone who sees it as, death happens. He's been around death his whole career, but his wife does not see it like that. And it really upsets her and traumatizes her, and she's like, you have to deal with this, assure our daughter, even though he's thinking that she has to know, their little girl needs to know this, because eventually, which I personally kind of agree with him on that sense, that because what's going to happen when her cat dies? Her cat's going to die before she does. So, and it might even die before, which, I'm pretty sure that does that, obviously. So he has to warn, she's to be prepared, because what's going to happen? The cat won't come back to life. Or will it? But, under normal circumstances, the cat will not come back to life. And then also at his job, he has a student that, I don't remember, this young man, I don't remember what happened to him, but then the young man, as he's dying, he says to him, the pet cemetery, said something about the pet cemetery. And then he has a dream, about this young man taking him to the pet cemetery and be like warning him about something. Like I said, it might be a dream, it might not. Who knows? But that's as far as I've read. It's really good. In such a simple way, Stephen King really enraptures you in the story, really takes you into the story. And this is the only one of the times I will actually read contemporary. I'll read adult contemporary. I just won't read young adult contemporary because it's about teenagers. And this is the one time where I agree with my friend Terry that I can't relate to those characters anymore. But if it's fantasy, I'm like, then, if it's fantasy, then I'll read YA fantasy because, it's fun. And even though maybe there are aspects of those main characters that I can't relate to, it's a fantasy world. A lot of times those characters will be in an adult situation where they have to make adult decisions too soon. So, and then you're distracted by shiny magic and all that. But anyway, so I'm really liking this, but here's the kicker though, is I have a lot of Stephen King books here right now, and two of his short story collections, essentially. But I'll get to those in a minute. So I'm currently, also the book I'm trying to finish right now and I'm very close, is Eleanor Allfrey is Completely Fine. I finally got around to reading this book. This one came out, I think, last year, and it is about a young woman who is perfectly content with her life, with her routine. She's a bit of an alcoholic. She's very antisocial. And then one day, she and a coworker happen to be passing each other on the street, witness this old man fall in the middle of the crosswalk, and they decide to go help him. and they take him to the hospital and everything, and then eventually it comes off as that they saved his life. He could have got run over or something. And she and this coworker, who's an IT guy named Raymond, at her job, kind of bond with this guy and connect with him, and in the process, Raymond and Eleanor bond, and she starts to realize what she's missing, because her whole life she's like, I don't need another person. I'm perfectly content with my life. I like living alone. I like my routine. And then she starts to realize what she's missing by spending time with Raymond and this older gentleman and meeting his family. And she even starts to strike up a project, as she calls it, learning about the singer, because she has these ideas that this guy is going to be her soulmate, that he's going to see her and fall in love with her. This is a book that will, so far, my feeling is, it, on the one hand, it makes me laugh, some of the things, because Eleanor is very honest and very blunt, very straightforward, and a very logical thinker. She does not understand what is considered the norm of our society, and she just struggles with fitting in and being accepted. And I do think she has Asperger's, because some of the aspects of her personality and her issues, I'm trying to be delicate with how I explain this, but it gives me the impression that she might have that she has Asperger's. I don't know. I don't know if I'm not a doctor, but I do know a little bit about, at least I think I do, because we believe that that could be a possibility, because I have my own issues, that I had that. So we did a little bit of research on that, and I've learned a little bit about it, and I have a best friend who I believe does have it. But she's a high functioning person, and it's not as severe. But she's like a very logical thinker. She doesn't understand social norms. I'm trying to think of what other clues. But, well, anyway, those are the two big ones, that she's very logical in her thinking, and she doesn't understand or comprehend a lot of social norms, like I said. But on the one hand, so basically she says things that she expresses that she doesn't understand, things that a lot of people would consider, perfectly normal. Things that we do, that we take for granted, simple things. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. But just certain behaviors that we exhibit, and most of us are like, whatever about it, we're used to it. Certain behaviors that she interprets as rude, that she doesn't understand them, and doesn't know how to react. Which, on some level, like I said, I thought I did have Asperger's. I don't know, and I hope, again, as I said, I hope I don't offend anyone, because if someone says that, you would know if you had it, because I don't know. But anyway, this is not about me. This is about the book. Just certain behaviors, things that make me think she has it. And of course, there's the fact that and then on the other hand, this book makes you just some of the things that she says, it's like, on the one hand, you're like, this is part of a social norm, this is how it is. And you almost get a little frustrated, in which you shouldn't, because she can't help herself. She can't help who she is and how she thinks. And you also feel bad for her, because you can't, she doesn't understand. And a lot of people judge her for that. And it's not her fault, but they can't take the time to figure out, okay, they're not going to take the time to be like, oh, maybe this person just doesn't understand, or, people are kind of lazy in that way. But, of course, Raymond is a character that's actually taking the time to try to understand her and be her friend, and I think it's kind of going in the romantic direction. But there's also times where some of her bluntness, her honesty, and how she looks at things, you're like, well, she's not entirely wrong. You think, oh, she makes a good point. Well, I can't think of an example of that right now. And then, but on the other hand, the book also makes you either really sad or really angry. Because not as in it's a bad book, but as in you feel so bad for Eleanor and the way her mom treats her. Basically implying that she's an idiot, she's worthless. Her mom's not in her life, her mom's somewhere else. But she calls her every night, every day at a certain time. I mean, even when she made friends with Raymond and everything, and he was like, "Do you want to call me to check on our friend at the hospital?" And she stays there and meets his family and is there for a little while and misses calling her mom. And her mom is like, "What happened? Why didn't you call me? What's wrong?" And then her mom is like, and she tells her, and mom's, "Don't lie to me, Eleanor. You're lying. That's a sin. You shouldn't be lying to me." She even yells at her. But Eleanor keeps insisting, "No, I really did make a friend." And her mother says she's an idiot. She says she's hopeless. She says she's embarrassment. And all the thing from the past that's implied throughout the story that happened, the part of why Eleanor is the way she is, or why her mom's where she is, she tells her, basically implies that's her fault, whatever happened in the past. And I think we're getting ready to find out whatever that event was. And they do say that it had to do with the fire. And I think I figured out what it might be, or what, at least some of what it is. But anyway, it's just, you want to support Eleanor and give her a hug and tell her it's going to be okay. Or even if she probably responds very "What are you doing? Why are you hugging me? I don't understand, But you just want to, be her friend and support her and assure her and let her know that the way her mom treats her is not right. She does not deserve that. Does not deserve her mom to be so cruel to her and say such hateful words. Of course, I imagine that Eleanor herself would be like, "Well, you don't know what happened, so you don't know. How can you determine that it's not my fault?" But it's a really good book. And again, because, and I know why it was on the Women's Prize, and that, yes, it deserves a lot of people should read it, but I don't want to push it down people's throats. But I really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying it because I'm not done. But I'm almost done with it. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight or not. I might not finish until tomorrow, because after this I might watch some TV and book 2. But anyway, that's the book I'm currently focused on as far as the library goes. And so the library books I got. So they finally had the second book in the Keeper of Lost City series. The second book is Exile, and I think we will get to the place that's mentioned in the book, the place where the people that are rejected from the school, the academy that Sophie goes to. So, this is more just a fun series. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of learning because it's middle grade, but it's fun. It's like Harry Potter. You're escaping this magical world where, you talk about lessons about love and friendship and accepting people for who they are, and in what is important in life, but done in a simple way that a kid can understand. But other than that, it's fun. I love this world. I want to escape, and I want to go to this elf world. And I love Sophie's character. She's fun and just a bit snarky at times, and it's funny. This is middle grade, but they are going kind of into a little bit of young adult, because there is a bit of a love triangle, hexagon, whatever shape, because there are 3 boys that Sophie goes to school with that like her. Although one of them, he didn't show much signs of actually liking her. But I do have one that I'm rooting for, one that I prefer above the others. I just realized that's not him on the cover. I think it's the other boy. boy that she actually does have a crush on. But yeah, can't wait to read. And there's a I don't know if it's a Pegasus or if it's a Pegasus or I think it's a Pegasus. Or a unicorn / Pegasus, I don't know. I can't wait to read this. But first, I'm going to get Eleanor Oakland is Completely Fine done. And this shouldn't take me as long as the other books I got from the library. So at least I know I'll definitely be able to hopefully take that book back to the library next time in 2 weeks. So let me go ahead and show you the one I'm still working on Everything is Eventual by Stephen King. This is a collection of short stories. So far I read the first 3. And I'm going to read maybe tonight, or maybe I'll read Eleanor Allfrey is Completely Fine, but The Death of Jack Hamilton, which my cousin actually told me he believes that's the alias for John Dillinger. But from what Philip told me, my cousin, he said it's about a car thief. So, it's not one of Stephen King's horror stories. But the first ones were horror stories. The first ones I've read. One was the first 2. One was the one about Autopsy in Room 4, where the guy was bitten by a snake, and he died, and it put him into a state of where he looked like he was dead, so they're gonna do an autopsy about him, and you basically get his thoughts, and he's panicking and trying to hopefully make some kind of noise to prove he's not dead. And then the second story was about this old man who's reminiscing about a time when he was a little boy in the early 1900s and how he saw the devil when he was fishing. And then the next story that I read after that is one of the ones that's not a short story, actually. Not a horror story. It is a short story about a man who collects graffiti, strange graffiti, and he goes to a hotel, and I think he's contemplating committing suicide. So I'm gonna read that one. So this is one of my Stephen King books I am currently reading. So I'm gonna read it. Like I said, some of these stories they're short stories. So even if I'm not into like the idea of cars being haunted or something, I'm still, it shouldn't be. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. It's not in this one. It's not. It's a novel. But I'm apprehensive about reading Cujo because I have dogs. I have 2 dogs. It's like Cujo's gonna. I don't know. I'm very apprehensive about reading that one. I don't know if it's gonna creep me out, make me look at my dogs differently or something. But so I'm gonna read this one. So I'm gonna continue reading this. I'm debating if I want to read Eleanor Allfrey tonight or just save that for tomorrow and read another short. Actually, I probably should do that. Read Everything's Eventual and then just finish up Eleanor Allfrey tomorrow. Or maybe at 11, like I have been doing the last couple days, except for last night. But that's because we were watching Sleepwalkers. Maybe I'll read a couple more chapters of Eleanor Allfrey is Completely Fine. But when I get in bed at midnight, because I'm not working, they don't have me scheduled tomorrow, so I'll just, and even if they did, they might not have me go until the afternoon. So I have to get up early so I can, read until I can no longer keep my eyes open. So the last 2 books I'm going to talk about, and I might film a video where, I don't know though, I think I might, in case I end up not participating in the Femme Fatale Readathon, because that's something I want to participate this month. It's the 18th through the 25th, so I'm trying to get books like Eleanor Allfrey and the Stephen King and then these non-fantasy books, because it's basically fantasy books by female authors about female characters, so those books don't count. So I want to try to get those books done before the 18th. But I want to participate in that one, and it's the 18th through the 25th. But I don't know, because it's not a week, but it's still only 8 days, so it's basically one extra day. And I don't like the week readathons. That's why I really love Tome Topple. I'm really excited for Tome Topple to happen. But Sam hasn't done the announcement video, so I don't know. Maybe she's not going to do it this month. She said she was thinking about doing it in August, but she also said probably, so it might not happen it might not happen until next month. But the other Stephen King I got was The Bizarre and Bad Dreams, which is also a collection of short stories. But I grabbed it because it's short stories. I figured, I might, like it. It might be quicker to read. And, I don't know. I don't recognize any of the stories in this one. Oh my god, I just noticed that. I did not realize that this is actually a person, as if their a boy, as if his face was cut off. I did not notice that. Or maybe it's a man, I don't know. That's weird. I didn't even think about it. I never really looked at the cover. I just looked at the title. That's the one I usually do. That's why I don't judge books by their covers that much. Because the first thing I see is the title, and if it's an author that I like, and I've liked a lot of their work. But I do, the cover, not noticing the face part, that this is actually a person's face without the face. The colors of this one kind of reminded me of Sleeping Beauties, with the red, the title and the author and his name in red, and then the blue in this part. It reminded me of Sleeping Beauties a little bit. It's a beautiful cover. And then last but not least is not Stephen King, but it kind of is. It has to do with Stephen King because it's a novel by his son, Joe Hill. So last year I attempted to read Heart-Shaped Box, and I was thinking, maybe his son isn't my style, But then I thought to myself when I saw this, I was like, you know what? Maybe it was just the fact that it was not the best time for me to pick up that book. Maybe I just wasn't. It wasn't I wasn't in the right place, because it got to the point where I started to panic and freak out because I was focusing more on the library books than my own books, and it drives me crazy because then it gives me anxiety, and then I'm thinking, and then combined with the fact that I'm thinking, I have to remember to turn these books, and so I gotta finish them, and it was just really giving me anxiety, and it was really on my mind and distracting me. So, and that was around the time I got Heart-Shaped Box. So it was I DNF'd it along with the other ones. So I don't know, maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I'll get it from the library. Although, it seems once I DNF a book, I never come back to it. If I DNF a book, then it's okay, I'm done with that book. I'm not going to read it anymore. I probably will not come back to it. And I just get rid of it or return to the library. But I decided to get this one by Joe Hill. This is basically about this woman, Victoria, she can find things really easily. And then it's also about this guy named Charles, who has his own gift, and he will take kids in his car with this license plate, and he takes them to a place that he calls Christmas Land. and I guess the kids transform into something really scary. Okay, well, I must stop there because this whole video is already too long. Although it still seems to be uploading so far, no matter how long my videos are. So, yeah, it sounded really interesting and really creepy, and I figured, you know what, let me just give his son, King's son, Joe, another chance. Maybe I will. Maybe it just was, heart-shaped box just wasn't the right one for me, or at least maybe not the right one at the right time. Yeah, and maybe it helps them kind of in a Stephen King mood, and I've been trying to read more Stephen King, because I've been kind of going on a Stephen King project. And this is going to be part of it. So anyway, so I don't know so that's what's going on with my reading. Would love to know what you guys are reading currently. What's going on with yours? Is there any interesting books you're currently reading? What if you go to the library? What are you reading from the library? Feel free to share in the comments below. And if you do like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe and tell your friends. Would love more, And as always, I hope you're enjoying your reading, no matter what you're reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!